Hey there, sports fans. Mike Crook with Free Sports Press coming at you with another episode of Laces Out. This week, we'd like to touch on our opinion on what went down with Tyreek Hill before the Dolphins game on Sunday, how a couple big-name players could be out of the college football playoffs already after Week 2, and maybe some picks and top storylines from the ACC and Big 12. So stay tuned. First up in the world of the NFL, my gosh, Tyreek Hill, before the Dolphins game on Sunday, gets pulled over for speeding and ends up being detained. Now, we've seen most of the body cam footage of this one, and we'll maybe throw up some clips here and kind of talk about it in the background. But from what we've seen, this is just a whole situation that went wrong right from the get-go. You've got the cop who's obviously impatient, maybe a little frustrated. Who knows how his day was going? But then Tyreek Hill, no kidding, the dude was a jerk. Like, he's being a cocky guy. All he's asked to do is roll the window down. That's standard protocol for anybody. Cop rolls up, you roll your window down. And he had his window up, so the cop's knocking on the glass, asking for him to roll the window down. He's refusing. And he's really being a jerk. And then the cop just, it escalated from there. So you had just oil and water on this one. It was a really bad mixture from the get-go. And this whole thing could have been averted, honestly, if Tyreek had just rolled his window down, handed him the license. He's being very impatient, very entitled, in my opinion. From what I'm seeing, this honestly has nothing to do with race, and they're going to play the race card on this one. Hate me if you want. Try to cancel me if you want. I don't care. I don't have enough followers to probably even get noticed on this one. But this is both sides were wrong in this one. It definitely got escalated real fast, but it also didn't have to get escalated to begin with if Tyreek Hill had just done what he was supposed to do, keep the window down, hand the guy his license, be on your merry way with your ticket. Have a nice day. Go get your 80-yard touchdown pass. He did not affect his game one bit later that day. What we're seeing is, I don't know if it's entitlement because he's a celebrity, whatever it is. A lot of things have to get fixed on this one. If people would just, especially if you're a superstar, kids are going to look up to you. They're going to think this is okay. They cannot think this is okay. If a cop pulls you over, it's for a reason. Their safety is always on the line. If they go up to a car, they have no idea what's on the other side of that window. So they're always at the ready for that to go down and go bad really fast. So they're going to be heightened senses on everything. So just make their job that much easier. Do what they ask you to do, and everything's going to be fine. It's just that simple. And people are probably going to say, oh, that's coming from a white man, white privilege, whatever. I don't think so. That's not coming from a white man, a white privilege, or anything like that. That's just coming from common sense. They're out there risking their lives. Make their job easier for a traffic stop. If you're caught speeding, just do what they ask you to do. Plain and simple. So rant over. So let's press on. So next up, we've already had 2 full weeks, technically 3 if you count week 0, which no one really does, of college football so far. And right now, we already have some big-name programs that could be on the outside looking in. Honestly, especially Notre Dame, simply because of the fact that they are not in a conference. So right now, with that loss to Northern Illinois, they're going to have that much more of a difficult time, and they're really going to have to bring their A game for the rest of the season because I guarantee you a 2-loss Notre Dame team is not going to look that sexy. To be a top 12 team to get in the playoffs because they don't have that automatic conference win that's going to bump them in like the Power 4 are going to have. There's Power 4, Power 5, whatever it is anymore. Notre Dame, you might be screwing yourself over by not being in a conference when things like this happen. And Michigan, that loss to Texas, it's going to sting. Absolutely, it's going to sting, but that's a quality loss in my opinion. Texas is a really good team, so don't hang your heads too hard on that one because you will get back. Florida State, on the other hand, you're 0-2 and going up against a Memphis team. So you have teams like FSU who are college blue bloods. Teams like FSU are supposed to be in the college football mix late in the season, and they're already on the outside looking in. And if you have a loss to Michigan on Saturday or even a close win, no one's going to be banking on FSU to make the playoffs. Right now, me personally, I'm banking on maybe a 4-win season at this point. We'll touch on that later, though. But it's not looking pretty in Seminole country right now. So, is your season over after an early loss in week 2? Depends on who you are. Depends on who your conference alignment is. Keep that in mind. Okay, so top storyline coming out of ACC country. And I'm a huge Nole fan. Obviously, if you know the channel, you know that. So I have to touch on FSU and their struggles that they've had through the first few weeks of the season. Right now, it's not looking pretty. And I know a lot of people are asking for, a quarterback change, a coaching change, all this stuff. And right now, who's it at? I want to say it's Atkins that's been serving a 3-game suspension. This should be the last game that he has to serve. So he'll be back for their next game. And honestly, I'm not even sure who that is off the top of my head. But for FSU to right the ship, especially going into a team like Memphis, who don't sleep on that team, they can be very good. And this is going to be an interesting game because this is obviously the team that Coach Norvell had before coming to Florida State. And we all saw the turnaround that he did in Memphis. The Tigers are no slouch. Their quarterback play can be really sneaky good. He's a very mobile quarterback, and he can beat you with both his legs and his arm. And right now with FSU secondary, they are struggling. Obviously with the D-line too. I mean, look at how many yards they gave up to Boston College and Georgia Tech. Those are teams that should not have been losses, especially Boston College. I know their quarterback is good, but we made him look insanely good. And right now we could very well be doing the same thing for Memphis on Saturday. The O-line has got to open up holes to a Feely. Like, where are you, my guy? I want to see you get the ball so many more times. I think you could be a great X factor for us. And I think that if getting the ball to you is going to be what it takes to get the W, then we need to do that. But is DJ the answer? Is Brock Berlin the answer, honestly? Right now, I know that crowds are chanting for Brock to come in, and not going to lie, I'm one of them. I'm sitting there watching the games at home going, why is Brock not getting a shot? DJ's gone after this year. Okay, he has no ties to this university after this current season. Brock is still an underclassman. He still possibly has a future with Florida State if we don't lose him to the transfer portal. Give this kid a shot. Develop him. Right now, relying on the transfer portal is killing us. We are not coaching up and getting these players early on and just having them migrate through the system like Bobby Bowden used to do before the transfer portal was a thing like it is now. Kids would come in as freshmen, sophomores, play for a couple years before they'd even get a start as a junior or a senior. So you had to earn that time on the field, and you had to show yourself in practice. And right now, kids are getting thrown into the system as a freshman or a sophomore, and it's not cutting it. I can see using a transfer portal to fill small holes for an immediate impact, but overall, for the long term, you've got to develop these skill players, these skill positions, quarterback, wide receiver, running back. These kids have got to come in early on and be developed from the high school level on if you want them to be productive and have excellent and show excellence at this level. So that's my rant on FSU. And right now, put Brock Berlin in. I'm telling you, if DJ's in there for more than a quarter and he's just sucking it up, we've got issues. Mike, you've got to do something with your coaches. And if you don't do something fast, you could be out of the job at the end of the year. Who knows? I don't know what kind of boosters are going to be pissed off, but money talks. So that's my ACC storyline is FSU needs to get better. All right, so now to the Big 12 country where what happened with CU and Nebraska last week? Like, I know that it was against, North Dakota State the week before that, and they're no slouch in the FCS. But what happened between last year's Nebraska game and this year's Nebraska game? It's like night and day. That O-line could not protect Shador for anything. Like, this kid's got a hell of an arm, and he can scramble, but you got to give the kid time. Like, good God, man. Looks like he was running for his life on just about every series, almost every snap. And right now they know that as long as they put pressure up front, their secondary, they can lock down our receivers. So you got guys like Horn and Weaver that aren't having the opportunity to get open because you could either throw them in a press coverage or even a man coverage, honestly. And they'll have no shot because Shador's just running around for his life. And they're not able to get open to save him. So I know that Dion has said that he ramped up his O-line, but so far the production is not on the field. It's not showing. And it's got to show quick because the schedule is only going to get harder from here. I'm not sure who they have on this for this weekend, but we'll definitely be talking about them in our picks coming up next, so stay tuned. All right, so now for our weekly slate of picks. First up in the ACC, these are the top 3 games that we're going to pick in the ACC this week. First off, we have Wake Forest and Ole Miss. I'm not going to dive too much into the ins and outs of this one. I'm just going to jump in here, and here's your picks. So Wake Forest, Ole Miss, definitely Ole Miss on this one. We're going to put them up by 14 plus. And second game, Notre Dame gets a bounce back win against Purdue this week. They're going to win big. I'm putting them up by 20 plus. They're going to come out fired. They're going to come out hungry, and they want to respond after last week's very embarrassing loss to Northern Illinois. And lastly, of course, FSU and Memphis. Florida State, I can't stress this enough, Florida State needs this win bad. So they're going to come in hard, and they're going to come in fast. And honestly, if DJ's the quarterback and he sucks it up, I'm predicting that he gets benched for Brock Glenn before the end of the first quarter, if he's sucking it up. If he's rolling over Memphis, obviously he's going to be the guy, but time will tell. And finally, our 3 picks for the Big 12. We're going to start off with UCF and TCU. TCU, juggernaut. Definitely not, the team they were a couple years ago, or even last year for that matter. But I'm thinking TCU is actually going to take this one against UCF. I'm going to call it by 10 plus. And Air Force and Baylor is our next pick. Air Force is actually on the road against Baylor, and I don't see the Falcons actually win this one. The Falcons have a really tough team this year, but I think Baylor's got more firepower up front, and their line is a lot better than Air Force's, so watch for Baylor to win this one, but in a close one, between 7 and 10 points. Finally, the Rocky Mountain Showdown, CU and CSU. This one was a hell of a game, overtime winner last year, and I don't think it's going to require overtime this year. This one's going to be won in regulation, and CU is going to find a way to bounce back from that Nebraska loss, hopefully, but it's going to be close. CSU's no slouch. They're not a pushover team, but they're also not the same caliber of talent as Nebraska. So I'm thinking CU's actually going to walk away with this one between 4 and 7 points. It's going to be close, but it's not going to require overtime this year. So there's the picks. So there you have it. Another episode of Laces Out is in the books. Thanks for tuning in. And if you enjoyed the episode, make sure to like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. It helps out all the YouTube and other social media algorithms. Watch for maybe some other short forms of this video to be thrown up on TikTok, maybe Instagram. But definitely check out the link below to check out all of our socials. And stay tuned for another episode next week. Take care.